Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I've got a really fun project for you today. Take a look at this quilt behind me. Isn't this fun? This is a super easy block, and we've added a little pizzazz with this friendship star sashing. So I can't wait to show you how to do it. To make this quilt, what you're going to need is one roll of 2.5-inch strips, and we have used this pretty My Sunflower Garden by Jane Shasky for Henry Glass. You're also going to need some background fabric. It's all this white. It takes all the squares, the first border, all the sashings, and that's going to be 5 yards. Your outer border is 2.5 yards out here, and this is a nice big border. You know, it's a 6-inch strip, but we also cut out of that yardage. We cut all of our friendship stars, so they were all the same. You're going to need some backing. You're going to need 3 yards of a 108 on this quilt. This is a nice big quilt. Look at the little bumblebees on this. Isn't that cute? It's a nice big quilt. It's 97 by 97, so a great size. All right, so let me show you how to do this. So what we're going to do from your background, you're going to cut 8-inch squares. And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 6. We have 36 8-inch squares you're going to cut, and we're going to set those aside. Then we're going to take our 2.5-inch strips right here, and we're going to make several cuts from those. So we're going to cut, I have them folded in half here, and we're going to start by cutting off our little selvage edge right here. So we're just going to cut off this little selvage piece, and our first cut is going to be 8 inches. So we're going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we'll cut 2 of those. Remember my piece is folded, so we're cutting 2 at a time. So 2 8s, and then we have 2 12s. So we're going to count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And so right here, 2 8s, 2 12s, and then out of this tiny piece right here, we are going to cut 1.5 inches square. That's a great use of a strip. We used every little piece of it. I'm just ironing the fold out of that. And then I'm going to cut a 1.5-inch square. So I'm going to make sure this is nice and straight. We're going to start on a straight side. And I'm going to put my ruler on here like this. So I've lined up my 1.5-inch marks right on the side of this block right here. And I'll cut up and I'll cut across. And that will give me 1.5 inch little square. And you'll need those. Those are the ones that go right in here, this little tiny dot inside of our block. All right, so now we're going to take 2 of our 8-inch, and we're going to put them on either side of our 8-inch background square. So let's go to the sewing machine and do that. All right, we're just doing a regular 1/4 inch. And I generally do that by lining the edge of my fabric up with the edge of my presser foot. And then I move my needle back and forth if I need to move it at all. If you don't have a needle that moves, just want to measure 1/4 inch. All right, now I'm coming around to the other side, and I'm going to sew the other 8-inch piece on the other side. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to go press these flat, and we're going to add the top and bottom piece. So I'm just going to roll these back like this. So the dark stays to the dark. All right, now we're going to cap it with these other 2 squares. So we've got the 12-inch right here and here, like that. So let's come over here. I know this is not looking like what you thought it was going to look like, but we have a trick in store, so hang on. This just makes a really easy way to do this. All right, now I've got this top one on. Now I'm going to add the bottom. Right here, and sew down the side. Alrighty, let me get this thread right here. We're going to press them open. Just like that. And then I've got a couple little pieces here that are peeking out. I'm just going to trim those off, make sure it's all nice and square. There's my rotary cutter. So once you get your whole little 8-inch block bordered on all 4 sides, we're going to cut this in half vertically and horizontally. An easy way to do that is just to fold it in half. So I'm going to take this over to the ironing board and I'm going to make me a crease line so that I know exactly where to cut, and I'm going to do that going both directions. You can also measure your block, of course. This is just easy. All right, so I'm going to start with this one right here. I'm going to lay my ruler right along the edge of it, and I'm going to make a cut, just like that. Then we're going to do the same thing over here, right across. All right, now what we're going to do with our blocks is we're going to flip them around like this. We just made the turn, and then just like you can see up here, we put a little sashing in here with a tiny little cornerstone. So this sashing, this inside sashing, is going to be 1.5 inches, and it's going to be the same length as your blocks are. So, oh, I thought I had a piece cut, but I guess I don't. Well, we can just remedy that right now. I'm going to put a piece right along here, sew it down, and then we'll trim that off, and we'll sew this piece to that piece. We're going to do the same thing on both sides, and then we'll add our sashing strip in here that has our little tiny cornerstone in it. So I'm going to go, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to chain piece 2 of these at one time. So I'm going to lay this little piece of 1.5 inch right here along the edge. And then I'm going to put my other block right inside there. And this is, make sure I got them going right here. Yep. There we go. I got a little angly turned around right there. Nobody noticed, right? Nobody noticed. All right, so right down the side of this. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to trim these, or trim them in half. See, here's my little seam, and I'm going to trim off this tiny piece, and we'll iron these open just like that. And one more over here. I just realized you couldn't see if I put the iron in front of you. All right, so now what we have to do is we have oh, here we go. There we go. We've got these 2 going this way. And we've got, now you know my real trouble. All right, so we're going to put these on here like this, and we're going to sew down this seam, and we're going to sew down this seam. And that will make our 2 halves. That will connect our 2 top halves, our top half and our bottom half. Now the top half is done, and we'll sew the bottom half. Now I didn't watch which direction my seams were sewn in, so I don't know if you'll notice this, I have one long this way and the short this way. You can make those so that they're all the same. I don't feel like it really matters. I don't notice that in mine, but some people will be like, oh, but your straights should be in the straight, and you do what makes you feel comfortable. All right, so I'm going to press that flat, and I'm going to press this one flat. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that sashing right down the middle. So let's look how that's going to look. Oh, this goes this way, and this goes that way. All right. So now we have a little sashing. We have one here where we've sewn a tiny little cornerstone in here. And see how it's just going to fit right in there? And this sashing is actually the same size as this block. And so I'm going to trim these off so that it's just the right size right here and over here. And then we're going to lay this right sides together, and we'll match up these center lines right here. So see where this tiny little square is? We're going to make our seams, we're going to nest them. So our one seam will go that way and one seam will go that way, and there'll be no, you won't feel anything in between them. All right, let's sew this down. All right, now I matched up that seam. Now I'm stopping and making sure that my seams are nesting up on this one as well. Holding them. Line up the rest of my strip and I can sew right down. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that other half to this. Just like this. Go ahead and line that up. Make sure it's going to match up in my center. There we go. Now, if I were making this whole quilt, I would kind of chain piece all these blocks. You know, I would sew all my blocks around, then I would cut them all, then I would chain piece them on long strips of 1.5" fabric. That's just how I sew. When I sew, I kind of sew all the same thing together at one time. But since we're just showing you a block, we're doing it this way. All right, so now I'm going to press this open. And this makes a darling little block. All right, take a look at that. How cute is that? All right, now to set these together, we're setting them with a 2.5" strip. And on our 2.5" strip, we are going to snowball 2 of the corners. So this is what it's going to look like when we're all done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little strip here and I'm going to snowball my corners. And you want to make sure your corners are going the same directions. So I have some 2.5" pieces here that I cut out of the border yardage. Remember, you're going to cut 2.5" strips. Each strip is going to give you about 16 of these, so you get a nice amount. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finger press these over so I have a line. So just like that, and that will give me a sew line. And then I'm gonna use this strip as my guide, and I'm going to lay them right with my sew line going the same direction. So I'm putting them, matching it up right on the edge. And again, your sashing strip is going to be the length of your block. So we should check that out. Mine's just a tad longer, so let me just trim that a little bit because you want these to match up really good. And then we're going to put a 2.5" square on either side, and my sew line goes this way, and so this one is also going to go the same way. So just like that. So we're going to sew this way, and we're going to sew, wait for it. Nope, we're sewing the other direction. So we're sewing, nope, we're sewing this way and this way. I was right. We're sewing this way and this way. Whew, that was a close call. All right, here we go. Cross this corner. And you might want to put a pin in yours when you pick them up so that they don't move around or shift on you. I've got a hold of this one with my hand, and I just realized that probably doesn't look very good. That's all right. I got it on there. All right. So now we're going to fold these back and look at them and make sure that they do match up with our other strip, and they do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim these off, just like this, and then iron them, press them down so they're nice and flat. Now I want to show you how this all goes together because this is really fun to lay out. So when you're ready to lay your blocks out, you're just going to set this sashing strip right in between and between every block. So along here you can see every block has a sashing strip and they all have this little corner on it right here. Then you're going to lay in your middle sashing strip, and so it's going to go like this. Then you'll have your center square, and remember all these little squares are cut from your border fabric. And then we're going to pull this one over here like this. And then when we add our next row, look at this. Look at that, your little friendship star appears, and it's just darling. Now the strips along the top, you'll notice our friendship stars are only set in. So on your outside rows, you're not going to add a square to that. So pay attention to that so you know that that's what's happening. But then you're going to sew these rows together. You're going to lay them out like this. You're going to add a whole big long, row of them, and then you're going to sew your little row in between together and put it on there. And I mean, it just goes together so slick, and it's got this great little friendship star at every little junction. So then you're going to add your first border out here, a little 2.5, and you're going to add your outer border, and it just makes this darling quilt, and a pretty good size quilt too. So we hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the 4 Corners quilt from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.